So I'm going to show you how to make sterling silver clay from PMC Pro and PMC3. And in this instance I'm going to make 20 grams in total, and I need 15 grams of PMC Pro. Let's get this going. Oops, let's get it zeroed first. 14.9, let's have a little bit more. Still saying 15.1, yep. Takes a bit of time. 15 grams. Close enough. And I need 5 grams of the PMC3. So together I should have 20. Yep. So now I'm going to start to mix them. And the careful blending is very important. I think that bubbles that are occurring in some firings are to do with not mixing the clay well enough. So you might want to experiment with various ways of being able to mix things, but I'm going to make some long strands, intertwine them, squeeze them through the extruder a few times, and do a lot of mashing and just mix it as best I can. If you can think of another way of doing it, then by all means give it a try, but it really does need to be a very thorough mix. So I'm going to make myself a couple of long snakes so that I can start to mix them up. And what I've got here is just a piece of plastic perspex with a knob glued on. You could use the lid of a CD case or anything else that would do the job. So I've got myself a nice long snake here. And this is the PMC Pro. Okay, I'm going to separate it up and start to mix. I'm going to put these aside under the cling film for a minute so that they're not drying out too much. I've got some cling film over here just to keep it covered. And I'm going to start to twist these two together and start to blend them. And it's really worth spending as much time as you can to mix these in whatever way you feel is going to mix it the best. And I've broken it down into smaller amounts in the hope that I will be able to get a more even mix by concentrating on a smaller lump each time. So that's that one mixed, and then I'm going to go back to my cling film, pick out the next batch and cover this up. So now that I've got my 3 little lumps mixed fairly well between the PMC Pro and the PMC3, I'm going to start to join them all together into a bigger lump. And I'm going to extrude them through my extruder with the finest holes, so that hopefully this will help to blend the clay together. And I'm going to do this several times until I can't see any streaks in those strands that are extruded. And get the little bits that were left in here, and there's always quite a few bits left around the head as well. Mix them up into a lump again and extrude them again, and so on. And I'll probably do this 4, 5, 6 times until I'm confident that I haven't got any streaks left in my clay. So after you've done this 5 or 6 times, I would then switch to blending it on a laminated card work surface with a flat spatula, and really having a good look through to see if there's any kind of streaks or marbling remaining. And after I've done this, then I put it back through the extruder. So it's quite a lot of work. And I find that 20 grams in total is actually quite a manageable amount to make all at once and blend. And it gives me enough to work with to make a few items at a time. There's not much point in mixing up teeny tiny amounts and going to all this effort to end up with a tiny bit, because it's the same amount of work really. But any more than this becomes quite difficult to actually get a good blend and to get through the extruder successfully. And again through the extruder. And just keep going really until you feel like you've got a good mix. If anybody comes up with a better way of doing this, please let me know. Is there a small blender out there that I don't know about? Because this is quite labour intensive. But I really set out to do something that anybody can do at home with minimum of equipment and produce a sterling silver clay. Now I like to add a little bit more water in some cling film once I get finished mixing, because I have found so far that when I come to use the clay the next day, it does feel quite stiff if you don't add that extra bit of water. And the sterling silver clay needs, seems to need a little bit more time to absorb water into the clay. So I like to spread it out fairly thin once I know I've got a good mix. And I'm going to put it in some saran wrap or cling film, plastic wrap, whatever you call it, whatever your brand is, and get it into some cling film. And I'm going to give it a good spray with some water, make sure it's distributed, close it up, spray a little bit on the outside that didn't get any water, close it up again and do the same thing. Then I would probably leave that overnight to rest for a bit and for the water to kind of really soak in. And when I come to use it the next morning, that's a pretty happy little lump of sterling silver clay. Any little pieces that are left over stuck to the extruder when you get finished tend to be quite dry. And actually it's easier to clean the whole thing off once they dry a little bit. They can flake away quite nicely. But we don't want to waste them because we've gone to a lot of trouble to mix it. And we now have some sterling silver crumbs here that we can easily add into our paste. So I keep a little pot of slip, just like I would with regular PMC, only this is my sterling pot from the PMC3 and Pro.